Hello, Namaskar and Adab to all my friends from your friend astrologer and guide Irfan, once more with you from your very own channel Astro Assurance. All of us want to be happy and very happy in our lives, and throughout our life we chase happiness through various means that we feel can get us to be very happy. Some chase happiness through some material pursuits, and they feel that if they get certain amount of money, they are financially secure and stable at a certain amount of bank balance that they have, certain number of houses or vehicles or cars that they have, then they will be very happy. Some people may not look at the bank balance, but they may look at the happiness or the exhilaration that they may get through a more adventurous life, and they may chase their life through various activities that they indulge in, whether it's mountaineering, whether it is gliding, climbing mountains or whatever they want to do, and so they keep chasing those activities which bring them the excitement, the exhilaration, the adrenaline rush. For some others, the happiness may be in terms of what they do for others, how they serve humanity, and so they may pick up causes or chase causes or take up causes where they can help others, be of more value to others, and through being of more value to others they are able to give back to society. So each one of us has our own ways and means to look at and achieving happiness. Now one way of looking at happiness is also through companionship, and this is a very important factor sometimes which we don't look at the more important factor for happiness, but one of the factors which may bring happiness to us amongst others. However, if we don't have a good companion, if we don't have a good partner, and if life is miserable, life is troublesome, then however much amount of money you may have, bank balance you may have, the number of houses and cars you may have, and whatever exciting activities that you may be able to indulge in, life will not be as flavorful, as enjoyable, and as much happiness oriented as it can be if you have a good, understanding, loving, caring and supporting partner. And so this particular decision of who you are with in a relationship, who is your companion for life, becomes a very critical decision that you ever take in your life. Sometimes it may happen by chance that you meet somebody at work or at a certain seminar or an activity that you're doing, and you fall in love with that person and you live happily ever after. But in today's time, we don't necessarily hear many happily ever after stories through the current tradition of love marriages or dating, if we can call it. Because if you look at the West, we find the number of divorces that happen and the percentage of divorces versus marriage that happen are very high. So we find that one person may end up having 3 or 4 partners in life, and may even have 3 to 4 marriages in today's current context. Why is it that such marriages break, and what does it do to the individual who goes through those phases? Now when you look at one factor and you marry for that factor, for some reason, if that some other factors which you are not focused on, they are found wanting, then you may definitely find something in the partner, in the companion missing. I know of a girl who at a very young age fell in love with somebody at a college who she thought was very good looking. She always wanted a very good looking spouse because she herself was very beautiful, and she thought that she wanted to marry somebody who was very good looking so that they both match and she can also be proud of her partner. So she married somebody who was very good looking, but that person turned out to be a Casanova. He also used his good looks to befriend many other girls and also through that impact his marriage. So the girl after a few years realized that this person is not trustworthy, he is not loyal, and he is somebody who has been not completely credible in his marriage and has even cheated. So she left that guy and she thought that she needs to marry somebody who is more loving, caring and respectful to the values of the marriage and to the institution of marriage. So she found solace in one of her friends who she thought was very understanding, very loving, very caring. So she ended up marrying an old friend. However, after a few years she realized that the friend was very loving, very caring, however he was not financially stable, and so she found that most of the time she was working hard, she was slogging because her friend who was now her husband couldn't keep his job, and there was no stability in the marriage, and so she slogged and slogged for years before she was too tired and she felt that she couldn't continue in the marriage, because after a few years she admired the love and respect that he gave her, but she also wanted somebody with whom the life was more stable and she didn't have to slog so much, and life was not as hard. So then she looked for somebody who was more financially stable, financially well to do, because she thought that would make life easier for her. So she ended up divorcing her friend and then looking for and marrying somebody who was more financially secure, was well to do in his marriage, and for a year life was good. There were holidays, there were foreign trips, she lived in a good house, everything was good. However, she found that this guy was so busy in his work that he had no time for her, and many times she would not have access to him for days on end, and she was very lonely. And then she thought that she couldn't be with such a person who was almost non-existent in the life for her, while she had all the goodies around her. So she wanted somebody who was caring, loving, financially stable, and was loyal, and there for her, who would give her time, attention, and also somebody who was good looking, for example. So difficult to get such a person, right? Isn't it? So you chase one side of life or of a companion and you end up making some sacrifices on the other, on some other factor, and then you realize that this is not working, and either you go through multiple breakups, whether it's in a committed relationship through an institution of marriage, religious ceremony or not, or you are in a committed relationship even if it's a live-in relationship, but after a few years you don't want to be with that person anymore, and because you don't have a signed document, the marriage papers, it's easier to get out of the relationship also, and so you go through various breakups. Now if marriage is a important decision in life and a critical one, because it could make or mar your life and can make you either very very happy or make you miserable, then there should be something more compact through which you are able to ascertain whether somebody is good enough to be your partner or not, just rather than falling in love with the person. Even if you are falling in love with somebody, it's important to know and uncover some areas which you can then be wary of and be in control of and be on the lookout for, or avoid those areas so that you both can be happy. Now the Indian practice of horoscope matching to a large extent comes to the rescue of those partners who may or may not be in love, who are either going for an arranged marriage by looking at whether there is compatibility between two people, or even if they have fallen in love, they yet want to find out compatibility through horoscope matching also, so that this becomes a guiding factor for them rather than a deciding factor for them. So what happens is, even in circumstances where a couple is in love with each other, the parents or the elders may still want to do horoscope matching so that it becomes a guiding factor for the couple, and some do's and don'ts are told to them, and also areas which they may face in a bad dasha period or during a bad transit, or a sade sati coming upon them, or being a manglik, can also be looked into so that the couple is clear. So a part of horoscope matching, generally one is of Kuta matching, or the 36 points that you want to accumulate through looking at the yoni, looking at the guna and all that. But the Kuta matching is a very small factor and not I would say a very concrete factor in deciding the marriage. A concrete factor in deciding the marriage is based on compatibility at various levels. The first level of compatibility should be longevity of the couple. If one person will have a shorter duration of life or much shorter duration of life than the other, then obviously such a marriage cannot be called successful, because one partner may not remain in the marriage for long or may not be alive for long to be able to continue giving companionship to the other partner. Now this is one area which a lot of astrologers don't look into deeply before they make the recommendation for the marriage, and that's why this is an important area which needs to be looked into. The other area is to check on the mental compatibility between the two, and also psychological factors, whether there are any mental afflictions or psychological afflictions on either of the partner or both, because that mental compatibility has a lot to do with your psychological makeup of the couple, or at least both the partners, or at least both of them being a reasonable level of psychological balance. The third factor is having some doshas, because of which life can be very, very troublesome, having a lot of problems, such as being in a manglik dosha, for example, where there can be struggles, there can be aggression, there can be even violence, and there could also be continued strenuous impact on the domestic environment. And the fourth is, even if one of the partners' longevity is good, but if there is a scope for a breakup in the union, a breakup or a separation in the union, or even a divorce, then the marriage cannot be called successful. So all these factors have also to be looked into during horoscope matching for the institution of marriage to be successful. So let's look at each one of them and see what are the astrological placements which tell you whether a couple's horoscope matching is good enough or not, and what one should look into to be able to arrive at a decision. While you still may need to go to an astrologer, but I am giving you these points as a guiding factor, so that at level 1 you could know, by looking at the horoscopes of two people, whether they seem to be at first glance compatible people or not. So let's deep dive into what are the factors and which can give you a more compatible partner and a long and steady marriage, and a happy married one at that. Now, as part of longevity, the astrological texts describe 4 levels of longevity. One is called the Bal Arishtha, where a person may not live more than 8 years. Of course, in horoscope matching, you don't match the horoscope of an 8-year-old, so this doesn't count as part of horoscope matching. Second is the Alpa Ayu, or somebody who may live between 8 years to 32 years of age. This is a very, very important factor, because nobody wants their partner to die very young and leave them a widow or a widower. Third is the Madhya Ayu, which is somebody living between 32 years and 75 years. Most of the horoscopes will give you somebody of a Madhya Ayu, so that at least the marriage can survive for a long period of time before one of the partner passes away. And the fourth is the Purna Ayu, where somebody may live beyond 75 years of age. And in that sort of a marriage, if both of them seem to be reaching the Purna Ayu, or the complete life that it's can be described as, then it can be a very long period of companionship, and most of us look for a long period of companionship, or as it is said, till death do us part. Now, one very important factor as part of longevity is how well matched they are, and whether the astrologer fails to check the lifespan of any one of the individual, or if there is a grave danger that can come about them. One of the shloka in the Briyat Parashara Hora Shastra goes like this: Narasya Janma Kale va Prashna Kale Yandashka Tadadi Navrashina Mabdasta Syayu Ruchyate Sampurna Ayubur Vedadarth Manshasya Madhya ke Ashante Parmand Kasht Mitya Har Pare Buddha. I quote, the span of life of a person is determined from the padas, amsas of the nakshatra at the time of birth or query, and the years allotted to the signs commencing from it. The person will enjoy a full span of life, that is the Purna Ayu, if his birth be at the commencement of the padas. He will have middle span of life, Madhya Ayu, if the birth be in the middle of the padas, and a short span of life, Alpa Ayu, or will face death-like sufferings if the birth be at the end of the pada of the nakshatra. This is a very important part of horoscope matching, that the horoscope of both the partners shows a long life and not a curtailed life, and not a short life, and not a fatalistic end to the life of any one of the partners. care should be taken as to what nakshatra the Lagna Lord or Lord of the 2nd, 4th, 6th, 12th to the 7th and 7th is placed in. For instance, Saturn placed in Aries could be very different in Ashwini, which is very masculine in nature, to Saturn placed in Bharani, which is very feminine in nature. For instance, the Hora says, a girl born in Jyeshta Nakshatra destroys or is the cause of death to the elder brother of the husband, and the girl born in the 4th quarter of Vishakha Nakshatra destroys the husband's younger brother. Now this standalone placement may not be true completely, but increased maleficity will cause increased challenges. If destiny was everything, then horoscope matching would not have been undertaken. The very idea of horoscope matching is to balancing the goods of one with the challenges of the other and vice versa. For instance, if the dashas are almost coinciding, then it is not a good idea, as both the spouses will run the dasha of Saturn and the Ketu dasha and the Rahu dasha simultaneously with increased challenges. Remember, both the spouses running the same dasha, and if both their placements are malefic, then the problems will increase exponentially. It will not be 5 plus 5 is equal to 10, but 5 multiplied by 5 is equal to 25. So care obviously has to be taken. A shloka in the Jataka Parijata talks about the placement of Mars, and it goes like this. Mars occupying the 2nd, 12th, 7th, 4th or 8th in the horoscope of a person may cause the death of the wife. If Mars occupies these same positions in the horoscope of a woman, it proves injurious to the husband. Such a disposition of Mars may result either in death or estrangement between the couple, leading to mutual acrimony and hate. A person with Mars in certain placements in the horoscope is called or denoted as being a Manglik, or Mangal or Mars not being in a favorable position, as we just talked about. If Mars is in similar position or such difficult challenging positions in some certain respective houses and signs for the other partner too, then some Shastras do talk about a balancing off or neutralizing. However, it may not be a guarantee that life will not be troublesome enough for the couple to have a good happy married life, and various other factors including malefic aspects on Mars and the Lagna Lord and the 7th Lord also have to be seen. Thus, the nakshatra also comes into play when compatibility is seen. Parashara says, Tevo nakshatra sangyani grah sangyani kanichit tani nakshatra namani thirsyanami yani mai. Out of the many luminous bodies righted in the skies, some are stars, yet some are planets. Those that have no movements are the nakshatras, unquote. So while planets have their beneficity and maleficity due to their strengths, conjunctions, debilitations, exaltation, etc., it is the nakshatra which gives a solid foundation and character to the individual, and hence the attribute of being immovable or having no movements as described by Parashara. In fact, a good nakshatra can substantially reduce the malefic nature of a planet in certain signs due to its positive nature. So, a Saturn in Rohini will be very different from a Saturn in Aslesha. Jupiter in Mula will be very different from Jupiter in Pushya. The same nakshatra is deemed to be good in the following nakshatra: Rohini, Ardra, Makha, Hasta, Shakha, Shravana, Uttara Bhadrapada and Revati. In the following cases, common Janma Nakshatra is deemed to be mediocre in results, such as in Ashwini, Kritika, Mrigashira, Punarvasu, Pushya, Purva Falguni, Uttara Falguni, Chitra, Anuradha, Purvashada and Uttarashada. Where the Janma Nakshatras of the boy and the girl are the same, then the boy's nakshatra should precede the girl's through being a lower pada. For example, if the boy is of Anuradha and the girl is also of Anuradha, then the boy's padas in Anuradha should be lower than that of the girl. So if the boy is of second pada in Anuradha, the girl should be of either third pada or fourth pada. Sometimes it may that the signs are also on account of this being in the same nakshatra. Sometimes the nakshatras may be the same, but the Jan Rashis may be different, which is possible for Kritika, Mrigashira, Uttara Falguni, Chitra, Uttarashada and Dhanishta. In case of a common Janma nakshatra but different sign, the girl's nakshatra pada should precede the boys. For example, if the boy is in third pada in Kritika and Taurus, then the girl can be in the first pada in Aries. Any kind of nakshatra guna is another important factor. It is better that the same nakshatra gana be avoided for somebody who are both of the Rakshasa gana. Ancient texts also talk about the girl born under Mula, Aslesha, Jeshta and Vishaka. In Pada, ancient texts also talk about how girls born under Mula first pada, Aslesha first pada, Jeshta first pada and Vishaka fourth pada are likely to be averse to the father-in-law, mother-in-law, husband's elder brother and youngest brother of husband respectively from a lifelong life length perspective. Thus, to summarize, same nakshatra marriages should be of Manushya Gana or Dev Gana or between two ideally, but better if pada differences are kept in mind. And in case of common Janma nakshatra but different sign, the girl's nakshatra pada should precede the boys. The following pairs show nakshatras they do not bring happiness if the boy or girl belong to such pairs. A marriage between them may not be recommended. These pairs are Kritika, Aslesha or Aslesha and Swati or Chitra and Purvashada or Anuradha and Dhanishta or Dhanishta and Bharani or Satabisha and Kritika. Whereas on the other hand, the following pairs of nakshatras may keep a couple very happy. Purva Falguni and Anuradha, Chitra and Pushya, Punnarsvasu and Hasta, Jeshta and Satabisha. On the other hand, Uttara Falguni and Mrigarshira shows a very traumatic bringing event in the family, whereas Hasta and Mula can bring severe financial setbacks. It is also said that some specific results may be got under certain specific nakshatras, and those also have to be looked into. Longevity is definitely an important factor as part of horoscope matching. The second factor is whether there are any psychological challenges and psychological disturbances in one of the partners or both of them. For this, the condition or situation of the moon is a critical factor. If moon is severely afflicted and is either in any of the dusthanas and in a sign inimical to the person, then such a person will definitely have a lot of trauma, stress and may also have severe psychological challenges and ups and downs. And if the person himself is not of stable mind, he cannot give stability and happiness to his or her partner, and that's why moon's situation or placement is critical. The other part is, even if moon is in a good sign and in the Kendra houses, yet if there are any malefic conjunctions with the moon, either moon with Rahu, moon with Mars, moon with Saturn or moon with Ketu, then too a very troublesome mind and not a stable mind or not a steady mind can be seen. And if there are aspects on the moon, especially when moon is in the Lagna, moon is in the second house or fourth house, 6th, 8th or 12th house, then too very strong challenges or emotional challenges and less stability of the mind for the native can be seen, and therefore such an association can be avoided unless there is a benefic aspect on the moon also. While this is a small factor, but a number of other factors contributing can make it a more severe one. For example, if moon is severely afflicted and if the Lagna Lord is also afflicted, then there are severe challenges of the mind. If Jupiter is also weak or does not aspect either the Lagna or an afflicted moon, then too severe psychological challenges can be seen. A debilitated moon can also be seen as a challenge bringing attachment or a challenge bringing attribute in a couple's marriage. Moon which is in not only in a severe conjunction with the Rahu or a Ketu with Saturn, but added to it is a malefic aspect of a Mars on it or of a Saturn on it, can also add to the woes of the person and thus of the couple. So the third factor, psychological issues, have to be looked into before the marriages is solemnized or agreed upon. If one person has severe afflictions of the moon and if the other has very strong moon and a good 7th house and 7th lord, then to an extent the marriage can go ahead if some remedies of the moon is done in for the person whose moon is afflicted, and hence psychological issues also have to be looked into for the couple. And the third part is whether there are important doshas. We looked at one of the doshas being the Manglik dosha. However, there can be various other doshas which also affect the marriage. 7th house is critical factor for the success of a marriage. So 7th house should not have aspects of malefics such as Rahu, Ketu, Saturn and Mars on it, especially if the sign is an inimical sign to any of these. Second, the presence of more malefics in the 7th house also add to the woes of the couple, and the longevity of the marriage itself is under question. Third, a very afflicted 7th lord, even if the 7th lord is not in the 7th house, but more often than not it will be in some other houses and signs. If it is afflicted and it is under strong duress of other negative conjunctions or malefic aspects, plus if the 7th house also has afflictions through negative placements or malefic planetary placements or aspects, then too the woes of the couple may increase where the marriage may not be stable. And so these things need to be looked into. So for a long stable marriage, the 7th house strength, the 7th lord strength, no afflictions on them, no poor conjunctions in them or with the lord of the 7th is very, very important. The other part to be seen is the condition of the 4th house and 4th lord. 4th house is the house of domestic bliss, domestic happiness. If the 4th house is severely afflicted, plus if the 7th house is also showing affliction, then very rarely will such a marriage survive and will go through lots of ups and downs. The fourth part is a breakup of the marriage and a separation also which may happen. This usually can be seen very, very strongly through the 6th house affliction and the 8th house afflictions, and to some extent the 12th house afflictions. The 6th house is the house which is 12th to the 7th house, and the 12th house to any sign or any house is seen as the loss making of that house. So the 6th house being 12th to the 7th house is the loss making house for the 7th house. So any strong afflictions of the 6th house with malefics placed there, or the 7th lord itself going into the 6th house or going into the 8th house will show a breakup or a separation or huge trauma and ups and downs and traumatic events in the life of the person. If the 12th house gets involved with 7th lord going into the 12th house either in combustion or in debilitation or strong afflictions with some malefics, then too it shows that the person may not be able to perform in intimacy, or the person may even separate from the spouse, and the separation may be for a long period of time, or the person may even go and settle abroad in foreign lands and the access to each other may be very, very limited. So these factors also have to be seen whether such a position exists in the horoscope, so that there is longevity and stability of the marriage. The other factor is the karaka of the relationship. If Venus falls under a Papkartari dosha, for example, there are malefics on either house of where Venus is placed, along with severe afflictions on the moon and of the 7th house, then such a marriage very rarely will be successful. Either the marriage will not be long lasting, or one of the partners may go through huge trauma of even a fatalistic event, and there could be a strong or good chance of a breakup between the couple. Rare instances, Venus strongly afflicted with the Mars or Rahu and Ketu, along with either Rahu with Venus or Rahu or Ketu with Venus in the 7th house with a bad aspect or a negative aspect of either a Saturn or a Mars can also bring about a breakup in the marriage, or even the involvement of an outsider, or even infidelity may be one of the reasons for which the marriage may break. So these factors have to be looked into deeply before marriage is recommended and the marriage is taken forward. If not done, then a person can continue to go through ups and downs in marriage. Some couples we know in India try to keep the marriage going by sacrificing a lot of what happiness means to be them, what companionship means to them, and that is very, very sad. Horoscope matching is a very small step, but a long and a very I would say recommended step to ensure that there is enough compatibility between the couple, so that the marriage is a happy one, a stable one, long lasting one, steady one, and one which enriches the overall life of both the partners and which is the couple. So friends, this is my analysis of what factors to be looked into for horoscope matching, and how you can also do some horoscope matching at least at an initial level to know whether there seems to be compatibility between a couple or not before you take it forward. Please like this video, please share this video, please subscribe to my channel. If you are looking for a personal consultation from me, please reach out to me at the links given below. And till we meet some other time, this is your friend, astrologer and guide Irfan signing off. Ciao.